Chasta and Huey here for 1077 The Bone. And Huey, I have to say, little Chasta would be freaking out right now because my favorite show of all time is Roseanne. And to sit here with Nancy, aka Sandra Bernhard, is tripping me out. Sandra, how are you? Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
That was my mama and I. That was our weekly appointment TV watching, and
And it's
and there
like
was
great
so
that there was a time when you like everybody would gather together collectively in this country and do something that was groovy and uplifting and positive, and it just brought everybody together. And it's something that just doesn't really happen anymore. And I think that's such a big reason for the disconnect in our, conversations that are happening right now.
totally. I agree. Just we won't go down a rabbit hole about Roseanne, I promise. But I've thought about this over the weekend, thinking about this interview, and I'm like, gosh, there were women that I looked up to as a little girl because I grew up in Oklahoma, in the southern part of Oklahoma, in the Bible Belt, and so it wasn't really until people I started seeing on TV and in music, being women, quote unquote, like that, who were outspoken and weren't afraid to be who they were, that I started going, oh, I can be like that. And so I think it's women like that, like Roseanne was outspoken, and Jackie, of course, and Nancy, and your relationship, the first gay couple with Morgan Fairchild, that was incredible. But I think like things like that, and like Courtney Love, I don't talk about Courtney Love a lot because people like they're not huge fans of her, but she was another one for me that made me realize like, oh, I can be outspoken and I can do anything I want. So thank you for that.
Oh, listen, that's where it's at, and that's where it should be at, because every woman should be able to be completely confident, independent, and be able to, chart her own course. And we all want to be in relationships. We all want to have like love and
Hmm.
connection with people. But that's one thing. But being autonomous and making decisions for ourselves, we're all individuals walking this planet. I mean, nobody can like walk you through your life, no matter who you're with, whether you're married or, with a partner or just on your own. We all have to look in the mirror and go, this is who I'm working with. And then we can come together in healthy ways with friends and in love relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, so we're super excited. You're coming back to the Bay Area. Less than 2 weeks now. You're going to be at Bing Concert Hall at Stanford, Saturday, October 4th. You can get your tickets over at live.stanford.edu. Also, your website, sandrabernhard.com. So just curious, though, from your perspective, I mean, Chas and I are super proud, being here in the Bay Area, rich comedy scene over many decades. But from your experience, what's it like from your perspective performing in the Bay Area?
Well, it's always been amazing. I mean, I've been coming to San Francisco since I was 10 years old with my family. And, San Francisco is like one of the most magical cities on the planet. The vistas, the views, the microclimates, it's just all just so evocative and beautiful. And the architecture and the landscape and the culture. So for me, it's always been an incredible place. It's been one of the places I consider, my home, spiritually and
Hmm.
creatively. So whenever I come up there, I always feel like people are going to be drawn to me who are like-minded, and that's
Mhm.
a very, fulfilling, exciting experience.
It is a special place like that. And, I feel like sometimes we live in a little bit of a bubble. Maybe not as much as I'd like to think these
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
But I do want to dive right in, and we have to ask because I feel like maybe one of the tougher jobs in 2025 is being a comedian with everything going on, especially with, recent news with Jimmy Kimmel. Tell us, like, how do you feel on the day-to-day basis, waking up and trying to make people laugh in this space? Like, how do you do what you do, man?
Well, I always try to transcend what's happening around me and go a little more personal and anecdotal, and
Mhm.
you know um, dip into stories from my life, some that are based in untrue stories, some that I fictionalize. So it makes me delve into my writing abilities. So I'm not really
Mm,
telling jokes or
right.
bits about the obvious. I mean, yes, I will of course address things that are staring us in the face, which rapidly shift day to day. So there's
Mhm.
no way to like write something about like what happened last week because it's already like, who wants to hear about it 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's true.
We barely want to hear about it that day or the next day. So we're all burned out, we're blown out. So like going to see Shakespeare or going to see, a classic, theater production, that's what I try to bring to my own work, something that is more, it sort of like takes you out of the norm and out of your day to day. And I sweep you along on my own personal journey and then weave it in with music and my band. And so it's in a way, it's like kind of like a mini musical, of my own creation. And it's all based on, my views of, the vistas and the distances and the travels. And I think I'm just taking people out of their day to day, but also elevating them and, bringing something smart and interesting to an evening of performance.
We need that in such a desperate way. Escapism and culture. We
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So everything you're describing, this will be part of your Shapes and Forms, your new live show. Just
correct.
curious, yeah. Just curious. Like okay. One of my best friends, he just started doing stand-up comedy within the last couple years. So as a fan, watching him grow and do his thing, I'm curious for you when it comes to like a new show like this, like the writing process, how long kind of it took you to get here? Did you work it out like in clubs beforehand? So
Yeah.
just like how long did it take to kind of write and get to this performance, this new show?
It's not a concerted effort. It's like I'm always writing year round, and
Mm-hmm.
I have my own radio show,
Mm-hmm.
Sandyland on Sirius. So a lot of that is an incubator of pieces that come out of, the opening monologues, and then I
Yeah.
translate them into my shows. So it's an active sort of evolution. My shows, they keep changing because I see something or I experience something or I remember another story and I'll fold it in. And it's not like I sit down and go out with a blank paper and start writing. It's like these are all thoughts, ideas that I have to like urgently rush to the computer and write. I'm not sitting there gritting my teeth. They come to me. I don't come to.
Yeah. What a blessing. I mean, my
Yeah.
gosh, that's such a blessing for you because so many people, we do tons and tons of interviews with,
Mm-hmm.
comics, but also with a lot of musicians. And lyric writing is sometimes a very hard thing. So the fact that
I mean, I've written some songs that is much, much more difficult pastime.
mhm,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's like, what song hasn't been written at this point? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Like, we're doing this song again. Okay. But, I love music, and that's why I end up covering more classic songs, but not songs that are too obvious, but still songs that affect me that I feel like I can do a great interpretation of and bring my own sort of, stamp on.
hmm So
Mm-hmm.
who are your favorite, some of your favorite artists of all time, since we are a rock and roll radio station? We
Um,
don't have to be rock and roll.
well, I mean, the list is so long. I mean, the standards are Joni Mitchell, Laura Nyro, Carole King, The Stones, Stevie Nicks, Tina Turner. Um, I mean, the list is long, but those are just some of the ones that I always pull out at the top of my head.
How was it to interview Stevie Nicks? I remember that interview back in
Yeah.
'98 on MTV.
On MTV,
You were
yeah.
pregnant, so what was
Well,
it like to
no,
go to that
I
show?
got to get my dog out of here because he's going to start barking. Out.
Okay. Okay.
Girl.
Who do we talk to that had a dog?
It was Matt Sorum.
Matt Sorum. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's very demanding. Stevie's, she's very cautious. She's not.
Yes.
Oh, I love Hart. I love Chrissy Hynde. I'm friends with all those people too.
Yeah.
Mm.
But Stevie's a little impenetrable. She's protects herself. I understand. She's always been super sweet to me, but
Cool.
she's kind of like from another era, and there's a lot going on with a lot of layers with Stevie.
hmm
Yeah.
When you do an interview like that, you personally, do you just kind of ride the wave? Do you have certain questions that you really want to push to get out? Or is it just kind of a chill chat and conversation?
Well, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it depends on what's going on. If they're, promoting something, you want to
Mm-hmm.
obviously shine the light on their work, but it's more fun when it's just freewheeling, You have to have two people who are willing to go along on that journey, not just
Yeah.
me. But a lot of times people are just like, they'll go with it. And sometimes you got to
Yeah.
go grind down a little bit, get underneath it. So the work's a little harder. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm really curious. As I mentioned earlier, like I said, one of my best friends, he's been doing stand up now. And, I've been following him at open mics here in the Bay Area, kind of as a fan, seeing him mingle with the local upcoming comics here. And it really got me thinking. And I'm curious from your perspective, like, are we really like experiencing like a comedy boom right now? Or is it more of like an oversaturation of just comedians? Because like I feel like on one hand, I feel like there's been over the last like 5 years, there's been this great like boom of a lot of great upcoming comics or people who've been grinding for a long time but are finally getting their recognition, exploding. A lot of great specials are coming out, or their specials are being put on YouTube and Netflix, other places. At the same time, I feel like there's a lot to filter through, a lot of white noise, a lot of clips. Like every time I go on Instagram, I feel like I'm being promoted some random comedian's clip of crowd work or something. It's a lot to filter through. So I don't know if that's like it's a good or a bad thing. Like there's a lot of comedians out there, but if there's too much,
I think it's just a matter of the immediacy of social media and
Mhm.
Instagram and TikTok, that almost anybody can like put their stuff out there. But
Mhm.
I don't know what the future is. I don't know how it'll unfold. I
Yeah.
can only look back from where I've come from,
Mm-hmm.
which was, getting up every night at clubs, honing your craft, working in front of all kinds of crowds, failing, triumphant, and endlessly in flux and evolution. That's the only way you become a great performer.
Mhm.
I can't speak to what's happening now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of people who are grabbing my attention. I don't have the bandwidth for it. There's too, like you said, there's a lot of white noise, white being the operative word.
Mhm.
So I'm sort of just like, I'm not the best person to come to for that, that insight.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. I'm just curious though, because but your background though, you came up with obviously Paul Mooney, your mentor. You were on the Richard Pryor show, all the work. I mean, all the appearances on
And Taven
Letterman.
the Letterman, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like you've done so much. I'm just curious, like any advice for young upcoming comics right now that you want to pass along?
No,
No,
not the
just
same,
grind on your own.
not the same world. It's impossible. I mean,
Okay.
I, you'll never have the organic, unfiltered experience I had.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
you can explode for like a month and then fizzle. If something takes hold on TikTok, everybody's talking, but it's just temporary because
Yeah.
you're building a house on no foundation. So
Mhm.
Mm.
if a flood comes in and washes whatever the dirt is that the house is on away, you've got to build your foundation. And I don't think there are many people these days who would be willing to do the kind of work that myself and my contemporaries did.
Mhm.
It really is a world of apples and oranges. I mean, in the world that you grew up in too, like, you had that instant gratification of knowing, like, is this working or is it
Mhm.
not? Because you're in a room with that energy exchange of humans.
Mhm.
And to me, obviously not a comic, although a storyteller on the radio, that is invaluable. Like trying to
Mhm.
be that on social, and yeah, you get comments, but I mean, I don't know. That just seems impossible.
I'll leave it at that because
Mhm.
I don't like debating the modern world versus,
Mhm.
the analog world. I prefer the analog world. So
Sure.
What?
I
much,
get it. So do
Well,
I.
and I do respect that answer because listen, there's a lot of people like in our industry or just anyone who thinks like they're an expert and they're like my way, how I came up is the right way, and
Mhm.
versus like listen, things evolve, people change, things change, how we consume stuff. So I do respect your viewpoint on that. It's like listen, I just know what I've been through, but hey, what's going on right now, you do you, boo. Like I
Yeah.
that's something
Yeah.
I
I'm
respect
all
that.
for it. And it's like there's, my daughter's 27. She knows, things about what's happening in a way that I don't know. But she's
Mhm.
also very, she has a refined ear. And so I know she's not going to just jump in for no reason. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's a matter of really like reading and knowing your history and really doing your homework and not just like, falling into things that are very, very, quicksandish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that to get into. I was on your website earlier and I was looking at the Sandyland part because I love that, you're a radio host. So like we have that in common
Mhm.
and you have a much larger platform in that you are a comedian and obviously you have 5 decades. But I think it's an important thing to remember that you do have this medium and that you can impact people. I try really hard to put out good energy. And I try really hard to be like the thermometer sometimes to kind of take the temperature down. And I often have Michelle Obama in my head. When they go low, we go high. And I saw that referenced on your website, and I was like, "Yes, talk to me about that sentence and what that means to you."
Well, again, I'm just going back to like, being, a more sophisticated person, in general and having like the ability to, disseminate what's happening around me and not have
Mm-hmm.
a knee-jerk reaction to everything because it's just things move very quickly. The people who want to taunt you and bring you down know how to do that. And it's not a world, again, I care to live in. So you get the most definitive news and information you can get. You
Mm-hmm.
filter it, and then you go on about your business as an artist, doing what you do, entertaining, engaging, uplifting, and really urging people to spread their wings in terms of what they know and what they experience.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of, your radio show, um, I'm just curious, like over the year, okay, I'm a huge Howard Stern fan, grew up obviously listening to him, watching him on the E show back in the day. You had plenty of awesome appearances on there. I've just always wondered anytime I could talk to someone that's like been in that studio, been in that room, have a conversation with him. What was that like to be around the king of all media?
Well, again, he's totally changed. He's
Yes.
kind of he's veered off, which is his prerogative. I mean, you can't keep doing the same thing. I guess I can, but a lot of people should.
Yeah.
Um, but it was fun. It was fun. It was, controversial and
Yeah.
and crazy. And I'm very good at rolling with the punches. So for me,
Yeah.
it was a no brainer, just the way I did with Letterman and
Yeah.
all that kind of talk show outlet is second nature for me to just like suss it out, be in the moment, and then roll with it.
Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
great a couple weeks ago when he faked like he was let go and Andy Cohen filled in for like the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes. So I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Andy about that or just, your thoughts on just a little fake out that they did.
No, I just like, no, we didn't talk about it.
Okay.
It kind of like, again, it happened very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
You seem extremely centered, calm, cool, and collected, like cool as a cucumber. I have to ask, do you meditate? What is your daily, like, how do you get there? How do you get centered? Or do you just exist that way? That's just naturally who you are.
Well, I'm very active and busy. I work out a lot. I go to the gym. I work out with my trainer. It's like I literally center my body as much as I can
Yeah.
because in this world of all kinds of physical and emotional and mental challenges, I always feel like you've got to have like eyes in the back of your head and be ready for any
Mm-hmm.
situation. So I'm very like I try to like really tune my senses to what's happening, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that helps a lot just in general. And sometimes you just have to lay back. You just got to let other people do the talking
Mm-hmm.
and be very observant. And I think that's another thing that I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Also, I was just curious. We all know, obviously, you were in the movie The King of Comedy. 2019, the Joker movie came out, heavily influenced from your movie. I was curious, do you have a chance to see this Joker movie and just
I did.
your thoughts on the comparison?
I mean, I saw it. I didn't. I understand that the concept was similar, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't. I mean, I didn't feel it was that derivative or a ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people can explore similar themes without,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, doing the dead
Mm-hmm.
on thing. I thought it was, yeah. I mean, I thought Joaquin Phoenix was great. He's a great
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very committed. So, yeah, I liked the movie. I thought it was really well done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
you've had an incredible career, and some wild things have happened in your life, in your story. I have a feeling I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have any regrets? Is there anything you look back on and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that or went there?
No, I mean, also like along the way, considering I started when I was 19 years old, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think as you evolve naturally, if you were in, a private citizen, you would do things that you look at and go, maybe that wasn't the best choice. But in a public, forum, of course, it gets highlighted.
Yeah.
So, no, I am having, I will have, and continue to have a lot of fun doing what I do. I love meeting new people. I love meeting people in the business who I think are talented and inspiring. Um, so no, I just like I assimilate all the things I've done and all my experiences and use them in my shows. They become my stories. They become my reflections. And I think that's really how you have to take all of that and transform it.
Mm-hmm.
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 Make it mean something, good, bad, or ugly.
Because then there are no regrets. You're like, that's where I was in my maturing process.
Yeah.
It just happens to, correlate with being an artist. So there's a lot to filter. And if you're creative and clever and willing to go there, I mean, you've got endless stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. If you're willing to be that personal, and you are, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and you're absolutely killing it right now. I mean, you've got Severance. You're going to be in a movie with Timothée Chalamet, who I'm sure is just as fantastic in person as he seems that he would be. Is he? I hope so.
I just met him briefly. I mean,
Okay.
we have a tiny little thing together. He seemed
Yes.
very preoccupied, but I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that he would be.
Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, we look forward to seeing you come back to the Bay Area. You're going to play at Bing Concert Hall at Stanford Saturday, October 4th. Get your tickets ASAP over at live.stanford.edu.
I hope some of the students come to the show. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope that they're doing some sort of a coordination to encourage people to come and see what I do, because I think that they'll really, I speak to like everybody, and it's like my whole take is very like always very young at heart, and I think that it would be a very fun night for some of the young people on campus to come to my show.
Absolutely.
We will spread that specific word.
Absolutely. And also, yeah, check out your website, sandrabernhard.com, for tickets and info as well, and for everything else about you they have coming up. So thank you so much for making the time today. We appreciate you.
It worked out. I know you guys, we were like trying to coordinate it, and I'm really glad it worked out as well.
Absolutely.
I am too. I
us
can't
too.
wait to call and tell my mom.
Great interview. And
Thank you.
I hope I'll see you at my show.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I also love your shirt, by the way. I was going to say
Oh,
that
yeah.
earlier.
It's a sweatshirt. It's, it's from that movie, Masculine, Feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's it just started to cool off in New York, so I wore it today, but I haven't needed it for a few months. I'm cycling it back through.
We're right on the cusp of fall. What is it like in New York right now? Is it starting to feel crisp at all?
I wouldn't say crisp. I just say it's just cooling off, but it's still warm.
Fall in New York is so beautiful.
It's still hot here, though. It's
I'm tracking all the weather. So
okay, I was gonna say, layers is your
weather. I know the West Coast very well.
Yeah,
like we get our best weather right now through mid-October. So even though technically it's the first day of fall, it still feels like summer for another 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, these seasons are all shifting
and you said microclimates earlier.
As the planet and humanity continues to do. So
that's right. Amen. Amen to that. I absolutely love your spirit. I'm like pulling all kinds of like calm, cool, collected. I'm a badass bitch. Like I love it, which is exactly what I hoped and knew you would be. So
We
that
need
makes
that. We need
you
more of
made my
that.
day. Yes.
I'm glad. I'm glad that it feels good and that you
Yeah.
understand it. I appreciate it. Appreciate
Awesome.
both of you. Keep doing the good work.
We
Thank
will,
you.
most
Thank
certainly.
you.
We'll see you soon.
Look
Thank
forward.
you.
Mwah.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.